My name is Mukwale Mampipura, and I will be your program director for the day. Welcome to the second semester Study Skills Workshop, hosted by the Johannesburg Regional Service Center. Without wasting any further time, I would like to call upon our first speaker, who will be Mr. Modiselle, who is the Regional Service Center Manager at the Johannesburg campus. He will be doing the opening, welcome, and purpose of the day. Over to you, sir.
This is an opportune time for us to meet again on the journey to our graduations, on a journey into our lives, on a journey to our careers, and become the people that the society and the community looks forward to have. And I'm thankful once again that you managed to show up on this particular day. I'm obviously going to welcome all of you, the program director, welcome all of you colleagues, the organizer of this arrangement, the supervisor of the unit council in Johannesburg, the administrator, Mr. May Munabisi, and the supervisor, Mabua Mamashu. I thank you very much. Also wants to recognize the Dr. Pitswani, who is the head of counseling in Gauteng region. You are recognized, ma'am. All other colleagues that have joined us, you are all recognized today. And the reason for us to meet, colleagues, is that I think life requires us to be prepared for it. And the academic life, it's one way of doing it. And because this is where we begin to acquire skills for the life that we yearn, the life that we're looking for, not only for ourselves, not only for our communities, and also for our children and our families. So this is an important gathering. It's an important opportunity for all of us to meet again and begin to acquire those skills. I think the colleagues that are here will be providing those ways of acquiring those skills because of the experience that they have already been in. And my duty is very small necessarily. Mine is just to welcome you, to be at ease, and really to be attentive to what will be presented today, because if in other instances you might even write some notes for yourself, so that you don't forget this particular day, and even the questions that you will be asking going forward. Prepare yourself for that. So I'm really thankful that you're here. I really am thankful that you'll be part of this arrangement that we're making today, and let the day be good for you, and the time for this opportunity. I don't want to spend much more time on this. I want to just give it back to the program director to take this matter further. But I'm really excited to be part of this arrangement, and I'm hoping that you also are. Thank you very much.
Our first presentation is from Dr. Malachi and Fort Malachila.
The outcome of this presentation, after this presentation, we should be able to understand these variables, which are attention, concentration, and memory. And also, you should be able to apply them of course, in the constant context of study skills. And how am I going to go about this presentation? I will start with deconstructing this variable, unpacking them, and also I'll try my level best to be as practical as possible to assist you to unpack these variables. Now, I believe it is important to understand ourselves. And what am I talking about? So self-understanding is all about awareness and the ability to understand your own thoughts and actions. It talks to attaining the insight into your attitudes, your motives, your defenses, your reactions, as well as weakness and strength. And lastly, it also responds to being subjective to senses of self. And we know that this is a complex mixture of unconscious and conscious thoughts, attitudes, and perceptions. So I'd like us to pause a bit and reflect on this, on who are you? You may feel free to post it on the chat, and we will see the responses. So that's one of the things that I wanted to address before we start, because we are different people, and whatever we are going to talk about will not apply. It's not a blanket approach, but then you have to somehow align it with yourself, strength, and weaknesses. So when I received the call to present for this workshop, I was very excited. And when I was trying to conceptualize this presentation, I was not sure how I was going to go about it, because knowing UNISA students, you are on different levels. Some of you have just started, some of you are in the final stages of completing your degrees, and some are postgraduate students. But then, yes, I was outside preparing food on this 3-leg pot, and I was intrigued by the 3 feet they have, which balances this whole pot. And what came to my mind was the properties of this pot, how strong it is, the capacity that it has, because a normal pot in the kitchen doesn't have this kind of capacity. And then the temperament, because it can withhold or withstand rather high temperatures. And while I was reflecting on this, I was talking to myself that the application is also important. You need to know when and how to use it. So before the actual cooking takes place, you need to have different utensils or tools, because the normal one will not work on this one due to its size. You need to have wood, you need to have the fire. Not everyone can start the fire outside. So similar to your studies, you may have your study material and everything, but then application is important, and also properties, as I've highlighted in the previous slide, that it is important to know yourself, your capabilities, your strength, and you need to really capitalize on them. So having all the study material and resources will not necessarily mean that you will study, but you need to make preparations and apply those. And we have you as different students, just like this post, different sizes. And some of you may feel that you are a bit rusty. Some of you may feel that you don't have these 3 legs, so you don't have balance to stand on. And you may be worried, but then rest assured that as counseling unit, we understand your strength and your weakness, and we are here to support you. So should it happen that you are feeling a bit rusty, we are here to restore, you know. And if you're not having those legs and you're not well balanced, we will be that anchor for you. We will be that tripod to ensure that you also function well, you know, like other pods. So I thought, let me use this analogy first before I get seriously into this presentation. Now, I will now change the gears and go into these 3 legs that I was called to present: the attention, concentration, and memory. And I will relate that to the topic of the day, which is, of course, the study skills. Now, what is attention? We all know what attention is, and most often people will ask or will be frustrated when they don't have your attention. So what is really attention? And it talks to concentration of awareness on some phenomenon to the exclusion of other stimuli. So attention talks to you being aware of the here and now in a focal and perspective way. It is also a gate that provides access to higher mental processing. So if you are preparing to study, you need to have that attention, pay attention to your material, to your books. And if you don't have attention, it may be difficult for you to process whatever you are reading. And it is also the bottleneck that needs to be passed on the way to consciousness. So you have to be conscious about it. And the picture that I've projected, you will see that if you are not focused, you can easily fall. So there might be other things that you're focused on that can derail you from what you are doing. And I've listed some of this concept: the attention deficit, attention span, selective attention, sustained attention, and visual attention. And these are for you to explore further, because as I've indicated, that you need to know yourself. So some people have a short span of attention. Some are selective, others can sustain. So please look at that and see how you can, or rather you are relating to that. And moving to the second variable of concentration. So when you have your study material with, and moving to the second variable of concentration. So when you have your study material with you, then the next step is for you to concentrate. And those of you who were blessed or lucky enough to do chemistry or physical sciences, you will relate well with this picture on the top right. So it's just like if you're having a glass of water, and the more you dilute, maybe like Oros or something, it will be more concentrated. So we have to move from being diluted to the level of concentration for you to excel well, or rather execute the study skills. So concentration is all about the mental effort. So it's the effort that you direct towards whatever you're working on or learning at that moment. So if you have your books with you and you are prepared to study, all the attention is there. But then it doesn't end there. You need that effort, the mental effort, you know, to get and engage with your study material. And there can be distraction, and we don't want that. We want to move to traction, but then you have to be aware of what distracts you. So distraction are those actions that move you away from what you really want. And we have those weapons of mass distraction, you know, your social medias. So you can pay attention to your study material. You can concentrate, but then sometimes it might be difficult for you to sustain because of the distractions that are around you. And one of them may be your social media. Some of you are working, and working from home it's not easy. Some of you are even children. There's noise and other external stimulus. So you need to be aware of that and move towards distraction, you know, to the point where you really want to be. And I'm talking about sustained attention because you might pay attention and concentrate, but then there might be a time when you feel tired and lose that momentum. So you really need to be aware of yourself and what's working for you in order to succeed academically. So focus is very important, and you really need to know yourself to know what get you to that point. And in terms of memory, so you have paid attention and you are able to concentrate, but then whatever you are reading or digesting, it needs to be saved in your head. So memory refers to that process that you use to acquire, store, retain, and later retrieve the information. So in the case where you were studying and you were reading, and it happens that you didn't store the information in the right manner, it might happen that while you were reading, you were getting some distractions, and then you realize come exam that you are not able to retrieve that information. Many a times while before online, while people were at exam centers, a person will be like, you know what, I know that thing somewhere here, you know, but I can't get it. So you know that it's in your mind, but then you are not able to retrieve that information. And that's what I'm talking about. So it is important that when you engage with your study material, you are free of distractions, because you might think that you are reading and storing that information in your mind, but then you may struggle later on to retrieve that information. So these three things, you can see how they relate to each other. Now, how do you maximize the attention, concentration, and memory? And I believe it's all about the balance, having balance on most, or rather all, of your domains. So physically, you need to be well. And what do I mean by that? When you are tired physically, it will be difficult for you to concentrate. So you really need to understand yourself, to understand your body, so that whenever you start to engage with your study material, you are in a right frame of mind, and your physical domain is also on point. The social aspect relates to you. You know, you are a social being, you need to interact with people. So studying every day not interacting with people can sometimes affect you. So you really need to have balance on that, interact with members of your family, friends, colleagues, and everyone. It really helps for you to be engaged socially. And the emotional and cognitive ones, they are also important because you might have that attention and you might not be able to concentrate because at times you may be stressed. So if you're not in the right frame of mind, it will be difficult for you to concentrate. And also the memory might be affected. So what's the way forward? It's for you to have the study skills plan, and that will entail your goal, action, and evidence to show the progress on what you're doing as well and as the date. So this is one of the examples that you may use. But then I know in the counseling unit, Ms. Mabua, they are conducting some workshops and they can really assist you with one-on-one on this plan. So having said that, I think that is all from me.
Before moving on to the next speaker, just to sum up what he has said in a sentence, it is important to know yourself. It is important to have balance in your life, to always plan ahead of time, pay attention, concentrate, and retain the information that you have obtained. Without wasting any further time, I would like to call upon our next speaker, who is a student counselor at the Johannesburg Center. Ms. Mamashu Mabua will be presenting on study skills. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, as Mambe has introduced me, my name is Mamashu Mabua and I'm a student counselor in Johannesburg. And I would also just want to quickly thank Dr. Majila for coming through and giving us this nice presentation on attention and concentration, because at the end of the day, this interlink for a student to be effective in their studies. So you need to be able to attend to your studies. You need to have full attention to your studies and focus, because if you do not focus on your studies, obviously you won't be able to make it through. And also the concentration span, we struggle with concentration span often. So obviously we need some techniques on how to be able to concentrate and have enough concentration span. And this, I believe, can be achieved if one has the right study skills method for you to be able to pay attention, for you to be able to concentrate a little bit longer. It's when you are enjoying what you are doing, and that can only happen when you have identified your strengths, you have identified what works for you, where studies are concerned, and when you are studying. We are different as people, and obviously we cannot use the same methods of studying, or we cannot do things the same way. So my presentation today will focus on what is study skills, why do we need a study skills method, and the different types of study skills, and as well as study skills versus NEETHLING brain profiling, which we are going to check how our brain works and how do we manage to do things using our brain, especially when we are studying, and as well to see if after everything we can identify what can work for us, having to get to understand ourselves better. So basically what study skills mean is when you are able to understand a learning skill, or when you are able to understand what you are doing in terms of learning, and also being able to process information, to be able to absorb that information and process it and also retain. I heard from Dr. Majile's presentation talking about how long does your memory retrieve information. So it means that when you are having the right study skill method, then you will also be able to retain that information, and that is very much important for a student to have, because retaining, then it means that you will be able to retrieve and eventually be able to apply what you have learned. And also it means the strategies, abilities, and approaches that you apply for learning purposes. So of course, when you are able, or when you have the ability and the right approaches for your learning, you will also be able to study effectively, and going back to retrieving and retention of the information you have learned about. And why do we need the right study skills method? It's just not only the study skill, but the right one, the effective one that can work for you. Why do we need that? Of course, we need this for us to be able to feel more in control of our studies, for us to look better, or to be better, or to keep us better organized in our studies, and also to help us meet the new challenges and how you deal with those new challenges. Sometimes you might come to school and feel like you want to study, but you realize that you cannot be able to study for that particular period, but you want to push yourself a little bit better. So this is when you are able to, if you have the right study method, then you can face that head on, and that anxiety head on, and deal with it effectively. And also the right study method will eliminate academic stress, because in this way you will be able to have your own timetable, you know how you manage your time effectively, as well as when do you do what and at what time. Remember, UNISA is an open distance e-learning, so meaning that most of the work is actually done by the students and not the academic staff. So in this way, the pressure is on you most of the time. So you will need to utilize those skills for you to be able to study effectively, and also to meet your targets. And that you can only do when, of course, you have the right time management skills, the right study skills, and also attention span and your concentration span align. And we have like different types of study skills. This is very much exciting, and this is when you get to understand what kind of a person you are. We have auditory study skills, visual study skills, and as well as kinesthetic study skills. You will see from the table here that the auditory mean what kind of a person you are, the visual as well as kinesthetic, what it means. So with the auditory, it's one of those people that, they learn by hearing. They learn by reciting the study material aloud, not just only reciting them, but singing them out. And also, this kind of students, they enjoy class discussions. So in this auditory study skill method, one would utilize more of study groups and have to do the work with a lot of people, and this is how it works for them. So the question is, if you are in an open distance e-learning like this, and where you don't have we don't have lecturers full time, then how do you make use of your skill? And this is where you need to also have an assignment with yourself or an introspection with yourself. What will work for you better? Because now you understand that you're not going to be having a one-on-one discussion with your lecturer, or you're not going to be having class discussions with your lecturers, but you have an opportunity to meet with the students that are doing the same module as you, and you can form a study group. But the question is, what are the other options that you have? And the other interesting part is that for auditory study skill method, for students who are using it, they can use music to memorize their studies. They can, rhyme. They can use like some kind of, rhyming the content of your study or of your chapter. And by rhyming, it means that you will have to have a very nice note whereby you will be able to sing them out yourself. And then in music, some will say, they cannot study without having their music playing, or maybe radio or TV. For some it works, and for some it doesn't work. And for those who works, they will tell you that, every time when I study and then I'm playing this kind of a song, maybe in an exam paper or in an exam room, when I see a question related to that, then I will go back to my memory lane and think about what song was playing and relate that song to the question, and that's where they get their answers. It sounds weird, right? But for some it works, of course, like I'm saying. And then we also have the visual study skill method for those ones who would rely on vision or seeing things, or they understand when they work through their study, their study guide, through their diagrams, through anything that they can read through. And these ones are very good with summarizing their work. And they will use colors. They will, make notes with highlighters. When you get into their room or into their study space, you find colorful things all over, or even with their books, you'll find that they have, some little notes written in between the pages, and with colorful papers in between, which for them, it works better. It makes them remember things nicely. Some, they even, use pictures as part and parcel of their material. And we have the kinesthetic study skill method for others that prefer to study or to learn by doing. How do they go about doing this? You'll find that this person can actually study in a transport, or maybe when they are traveling to work or school, they are able to study. And even when they can use like places like parks for them to study. They cannot just just sit and say they are studying. That doesn't work for them. And they would like to also have some examples that are tangible for them to be able to relate what they are studying with. And you will find that these people, when you are studying closer to them, they have their arms and their hands and legs moving whilst they are studying. And it also sounds weird, right? But it works for this person because it means that they can only attend, or they can only pay attention, or have an enough concentration span when they are doing that. And these kind of people, even when they are they are in class, you will find them writing, or maybe just drawing some flowers, some pictures. That for them works because it will remind them of the content of that particular day. So the question now is, what are you, who are you, and what kind of study skill or study method can work for you? And this you will also be able to answer for yourself and also get to identify well with what works for you. And going on now, we link the study skills method with what NEETHLING brain profiling says. And the NEETHLING brain profiling is actually a brain profiling that helps students or people to understand the way their brain works. In this case, of course, we will be putting more emphasis on the study skills, and also, but it has different things of how you view things in certain ways, in relationships, in work context, or anything for that matter. But now, because we are here and learning about study skills, it will actually be on study skills. And it also helps to understand how you think or your thinking preferences, and also helps you to develop self-awareness. Like I said earlier on, to say after this, of course, you will need to make a thorough self-introspection. If you are a new student, or if you have been studying with UNISA and you realize that the method that you are using hasn't been working effectively for you, then you can now come and ask yourself and do that self-introspection to say, what kind of a student are you? How do you prefer to study? As a visual, kinesthetic, or auditory study, use the study method. So the NEETHLING brain profiling also helps one to communicate, how they act towards people, how they learn, how they teach, and also how they solve problems and make decisions about their lives. And the NBI, which is NEETHLING brain profiling, it has like it divides the brain into four. Meaning that we have like 4 quadrants, and then on the 4 quadrants we have left side of the brain, and the upper side and the lower side, and then which we say it's L1 and L2. And then we also have the right part of the brain, which has the upper and the lower. And then on the upper, it says it's R1, and it also has the lower part, which is R2. If you can look at this, you will see that they are different and they operate differently. But what I want to emphasize is you as one person can have a dominant part of the brain, but then also have the supporting one. Like, let's say, for example, your left upper part of the brain dominates, but then you also can use the right lower part or the right upper part. So this is how you also get to do that self-introspection and check which one are you and which one works for you. And then on the left left upper part, the people that their left upper part dominates, they are performance driven, and they can also be critical, and they are sometimes, or most of the time, mathematical, and they prefer to do things right. These ones, they don't cut corners. So whatever they put their mind on, it has to happen exactly the way they have studied it. And then we have the right upper one, who enjoys taking risks, and they are idea driven, they are flexible and enjoy changes, and they also like exploring. In a student perspective, when we talk about taking risks and being flexible, you will find these people being the ones that, most of the time they will wait for the last minute thing and see what happens in the exam room. So they don't really have like that schedule for them to do certain things in their study life. And then we have the right upper brain, and these ones, they also enjoy taking risks, and they are very much social and approachable, and they are very much playful, and you can get comfortable around them. So you'll find these, enjoy working with people. So these ones, like they are social people. They like groups. They want to be where people are. And obviously for these ones, they can work, well as auditory people, because they would want to work well in groups, or they will work well in groups. And it means that, auditory study skill method could work for them as well, because teaching for them, it's something that helps them retain information. And we also have the last one, which is L2, from the left part of the brain, which includes someone who likes planning and organizing. They are very structural. When they have planned for something, they cannot, like, they are rigid. They cannot even, be flexible. And when things do not work their way, they get so frustrated. So they enjoy, or they prefer guidelines, as well as being punctual to what they are doing. And, but the good part about them is they get really to be reliable, and they are task driven. So this means that this kind of people, when you're with them in one group, they will slave drive you, but for the better part, of course. So you need someone like that. If you are an R1, you will need that L2 for you to be able to get things done. And then the brain preferences and study skills, as you said, for the L1, when they are teaching, they will need the textbook. Like, they are very much precise when taking instructions, and they are very much logical as well. When dealing with them, you need to actually know your story. And then when they learn, they cannot just learn anywhere, or when they are studying, they cannot just study anywhere, or, the environment, it has to be neat, it has to be, black and white. They don't want taraha, they just want things to be in order. And of course, you will need to have a desk when they are studying. They cannot just study anywhere. They love to research, and they, when they come to study, they just don't come empty-handed. So they will have to have notes handy, and so that they can be able to study effectively. So with the L2, which is the left lower brain, part of the brain, of course, they will want to have the textbooks, and, the instructions as well should be as clear as they can be. And they need to, go over and over on their study, so that they can understand exactly what the content is all about. And they, like, when I say going over and over, it means that they also need to practice. And for them to learn effectively, they apply practical examples. And this kind of people, always they will want to have their timetable handy, and they will follow it. So it means that, when they say they are going to study psychology today, it has to be psychology today. Remember, we said they are even rigid. They don't, like changing things now and again. So their timetable, as it is, they will follow it. Changing them, it's very difficult. So you cannot just come and say, oh, okay, I wanted us to actually do biology. It wouldn't work for them, because you are missing their whole day as it stands. And of course, they will have to have everything in handy when they are studying, and their environment should be conducive for them. They don't want haraha, as well as I said earlier with the L1s. So everything when they do something, it has to be in order. And then for the R1s, we see them as the fun people, as spontaneous. They give spontaneous participation, and with their learning, of course, they can use any form of, learning. They can sit, they can lie on the bed, but having to have that standard studying arrangement whereby you have your pen and paper and table, they don't like that kind of an arrangement. So for them, what works better, it's being spontaneous, and everything works for the day. If they wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going with chemistry, they go with chemistry. They can, you will find these people having everything with them when they go to study. They don't leave anything at home, because they might say, I am going to study chemistry, but when they get to library, they don't want to study chemistry anymore. They want to study something else. And their environment, as we said earlier, they are very much colorful, and they are artistic. So obviously you'll find their space colorful, and as we said, that they can even study when they are lying. You'll find that if let's say, for example, this person has their own study room or whatever, you'll find the mind maps in and around their room, colorful and all that, and they can use that when they are lying. They can study through that. It doesn't sound good, and especially as a parent, when you get to your child's room or to a student's room and you find that, you'll be thinking they are not studying or they are playing, but for them it works. So question is, does it work for you? No. Does it work for you? Yes. And if it works for you, use it. Just don't do everything that everyone is doing, because as people, we are unique and we do things differently. And we have the R2. On the R2, like we said, these are people who enjoy having people around, who enjoy the company of others. So working in groups work for them. They can use music as well when they are studying. So here we are talking about kinesthetic, and they like talking, they like role plays, they everything about them is just colorful. But in that, everything when they are doing such, for them is it's learning. And for someone might be like, but they are being destructive. So it means that when you have identified the right study skill, when you know the right study skill, and when you know exactly what you stand up for, you have made the right choice of your study skill, and if you've made that introspection to yourself, it's either you don't associate with those people and you find a space that it's made for you. But let's say, for example, you are in a library where you have to share the space with other people. Then it means for some can work and for some might not work. And the question is, do we have the resources enough for us to have the space where we can accommodate people who are able to use some study methods, and then we have another space to accommodate other study methods? I think Mr. Mudisile, as the center manager, I'm putting you on the spot for this one to accommodate both our students with their different personalities. Thank you.
To do the vote of thanks in closing, I would like to call Mr. Monori Sine, who is the Administrative Officer at the Johannesburg campus.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming through, and to all our presenters, from Mr. Mudisele, who's our service center manager. Thank you for availing yourself and for officiating our event. Thank you very much, Ntate Modiselle. And I'd like to also thank Dr. Machila. In his absence, unfortunately, he had prior arrangements, other commitments as for this morning, so he couldn't join us live. However, he was gracious enough to forward us a pre-recorded presentation. Also like to thank my line manager, Ms. Maboa, for delivering a very content-based and very well-researched, informative presentation on study skills. I know I've learned a lot from that one, as much as we do it every semester, but for some reason, I feel like there's always new information that I get when it comes to study skills presentations. Thank you very much, ma'am. And as for you guys for attending, thank you very much. I have posted the polls for you to evaluate our service, both on the chat box and some are still coming on the screen. So just be honest with us and tell us exactly how you feel, so we can do better going forward. Remember, when we do these programs, we do them for you. So it's always beneficial for us to know exactly where we stand with you. If it's maybe the content that you wish for us to deliver to you, or if maybe there's something else, something new you would like for us to talk about, to engage in, obviously we will organize something of that sort and assist you as best as we can. I know it's Friday, so wishing everyone a lovely weekend. Take good care of yourselves, be safe, and please don't forget to evaluate our workshop. Thank you for your time, everyone, and happy studies. Thank you.